Years at P&G. Please welcome Stacey Andrade-Wells.
Thank you. Okay, let me see if I can grab this clicker. Can everybody hear me all right? Okay. Thank you so much for having me, Steve. Thank you for that warm introduction. As he said, I'm joining you all today as the VP of Marketing at Liquid I.V. And I am very excited to talk to you guys about the evolution that we've experienced, not just as we evolve into a broader retail space, but also what that means for our marketing strategy, for our media mix, and some of the ways that we're bringing that change to life. First, I got to talk about what is Liquid I.V. Who are we? Because I'm not sure if everyone here is familiar. But Liquid I.V. is the #1. I'm getting a thumbs up and a head nod, like, yes, I know this brand. We are the #1 powdered hydration brand in the category. So here's a stick that I've got out here for you, and we do have samples coming so that you guys can take those with you. But we essentially are an electrolyte drink mix that uses the science of cellular transport technology to rehydrate you 2 times faster than if you were drinking just that water bottle alone that you've got there on the table. So we've got 3 times the electrolytes of your traditional sports drink. It's a great tool for rapid rehydration. So that kind of links into what do we believe as a brand, as a company. We really believe that hydration is the bedrock of wellness. It's that foundational layer on which all of our wellness regimen, wellness routines are built on top of. Hydration is that foundation, and it is a universal need. At any given moment, we've estimated that 3 out of 4 people are walking around dehydrated. And so we often don't even notice it, but it is truly universal in nature. And so as a company, we really believe that there's a lot of power in water. Power when it mixes with the products that we create very thoughtfully with a science-backed approach, power in water in terms of what it can do for your individual well-being, and the power that it has in communities when they are enabled with access to clean water. We also believe in breaking the plastic mold, so an opportunity for a more sustainable choice in the functional beverage space. And that links back to our mission, which we talked about a bit in our belief of the role of water, but we are all about accelerating innovative solutions for clean water access, and we believe that that plays a really significant role in community well-being. So we bring that to life not only through donations to nonprofits, but we also have a lot of significant partnerships with organizations that are doing great work in these communities to create access to clean water. And to date, we've actually donated over 25 million sticks around the world. So mission has always been a really integral part of the DNA of the brand, and so have a lot of the marketing tactics that we're going to talk about today. So for us, a couple things that have always been cornerstones of our marketing approach are our influencer network. So to date, we have over 20,000 influencers that are advocating for the brand, creating a community that fosters loyalty, spreading positive word of mouth about what our products can do for consumers. And so that has kind of been, since the inception of Liquid I.V., a very important part of our marketing mix and our approach. And the second cornerstone really is our sampling program, and we refer to that as sticks in hand. We want to get as many sticks in hand as possible because we know that when people try our product, there is an immediate impact to their wellness. You can truly feel that rapid rehydration taking place. And so that's something that's very important that we always aim to carry through in our marketing approach. But the environment, as Steve said, is rapidly changing for us. And in the last 5 years, we actually went from being carried at 100 doors to over 40,000 doors around the country. And so you can see kind of that amazing migration from being, an LA-based company to truly a national brand. And that calls for a little bit of a different approach because that has rapidly catapulted Liquid I.V. to become the #1 brand in powdered hydration. So the challenge is a little bit different than what we've been facing. But as Steve said, this is not necessarily a blueprint that is new or foreign to a lot of D2C brands. And so there's just a huge opportunity in terms of the physical availability when you're entering the retail space, getting your product on shelves in front of consumers. It opens up a whole new opportunity to reach a new set of consumers in a different way and really grow the brand, grow the business. And so we're seeing that when Glossier chooses to enter into Sephora. We're seeing that when Caraway mentions that retail is a big opportunity for them in their growth strategy going forward. And I'm sure that many of you here are feeling very similarly about the brands and the companies that you work on as well. So for us, that meant that there was a new challenge. We had a lot of experience in the D2C space, a lot of experience kind of working through consumer behavior, driving conversion, driving acquisition. Now we needed to reach consumers and change behavior at a scale that we've never had to do before. And so that caused us to ask a lot of key questions. So who are we trying to reach? Who's the consumer that we want to reach? And what message is most likely to resonate with them? What type of content is actually going to influence their purchase decisions? How can we learn about the context in which they're consuming their media and what their media behaviors even look like to help guide our strategy and our approach as we relook at our media mix model? And then the last question that no one really likes to talk about but is very real, what are the realities of our budget limitations and what does that mean for the types of choices that we should make when it comes to our media plan? So this is just a very quick overview. We had a wonderful media partner in Tenuity, who's our media agency, and they did a wonderful job really digging into the data of the different consumer groups that we were trying to reach, understanding what is a little bit too small for you all to read here, but a little bit more about their media habits and where they're truly spending their time. For example, very light on linear TV, very over-invested in streaming platforms and video types of content, right? And so not only did we look at their behaviors, but we also looked at what types of assets are most likely to drive not only their awareness, but also their consideration and their likelihood to actually influence purchase decisions. So lots of upfront data that went into helping us narrow down the focus of where we were going to try to drive behavior change. The other key area that we needed to relook at was the what. What are we telling consumers and how does our message, our creative message, need to evolve now that we're trying to reach people on a truly national scale? And so in 2022, as we began work on our summer brand campaign, we really did start with the consumer in mind. And we knew that there were a couple of macro trends that were happening at this moment, right? COVID caused us to relook at our hobbies and find new ways to play, to take care of our physical health, to take care of our mental health. That led to a really big boom in the health industry. And so this was something that we learned through a lot of conversations with consumers and was born the idea to own the space of play by some brilliant and beautiful minds inside the Liquid I.V team. And so this, turned into a really relatable territory for us to talk to consumers about. Hydration as something that goes far beyond competitive sports, high performance, winning. It was more about the everyday person and the role that hydration can play in their everyday life, helping them fuel those activities that they want to enjoy with their friends, with their family, or on their own. And so that gave birth to a very different creative campaign. So I'm going to pause, and then we're going to take a commercial break so that you can see how it came to life.
Fuel your play. With Liquid I.V, get 2 times faster hydration than water alone. And get playing. Remember play? Yeah, that carefree, make your own rules. Shoot, let me try that again type of play. The play that makes you dive into new waters. Liquid I.V has 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. Because life's better when you're hydrated. Liquid I.V, fuel your play.
Awesome. Oh, thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't call out our amazing partners at 626 Production that helped us take the space of play, turn it into an amazing national campaign all around Fuel Your Play. And so that turned into our national 360, fully integrated campaign, the first time that Liquid I.V had done anything of this magnitude as a company. And by really honing in on the creative message, working with our media agency to look at the realities of consumer behavior and consumer data, being clear on who we wanted to reach, where we wanted to reach them, we were able to design a 360 campaign that was able to reach 70 to 80% of millennial and Gen Z consumers. And that was through a variety of different tools. What you all just saw was our OTT commercial, which is one component of a much broader strategy. And so this was also the first time that we went into out-of-home advertising as a company. We also supplemented that with press to make sure that we got the reach and the awareness of all that we were doing. Thank you, Media Post, for that. We love you guys. And we also brought to life a lot of tools that had already been in the DNA of our marketing approach. So we have, for a very long time, had a presence in paid social, in display. Our influencer network, as I mentioned, has always been a cornerstone for our marketing approach. Sticks in hand, and of course, making sure that we're taking care of that lower part of the funnel through retention advertising with email and text to round out for a truly full funnel approach for the first time. So a little bit more on that approach. What are some of the things that we thought about when we were building out the creative, which platforms we were going to play in? The first was amplify what works. Like Steve said, I joined earlier this year to Liquid I.V, and one of the first things I did was seek to understand what were some of the amazing things that were working so well already to get this brand to where it was. And so it wasn't about reinventing the wheel. It was about learning from what worked already for the brand, for consumers, and putting it on a larger scale. The second was to take what works and evolve it, improve it with the use of consumer insights and with the intent to fully integrate it into a cohesive campaign. And the last was, if we were going to enter into new channels, we wanted to really do that thoughtfully and with intentionality about how we were going to show up there. So just some examples. I'm going to roll this, and then I'll talk a little bit about it.
How's it going? Do you want to play catch the football? I just need someone to play with me.
I had nobody to talk to. That's what hurts.
What do you say? We just throw it a couple times.
All right, we can do that.
But he's gone. Oh, look at him go. It's 4th down. We're in the Super Bowl. Ready, set, hey. Oh, baby. I want to bless you with $1,000. Yeah, I'm dead serious. There you go, man.
God bless you to the full extent. I love you, bro.
Thank you. I love you too, man. The company that gave me the money to give you that is called Liquid I.V. It hydrates twice as fast as water. Tastes great. Use their code PLAY on my website for 15% off.
So, like I mentioned, we have a long-standing history of leveraging influencers as a way to connect, build loyalty, advocacy with our consumer base. That's something that we've always used, but this was an opportunity for us to really put that on a larger stage. So this was a piece of content that was done in partnership with an influencer that's doing great work in his local community, that's really trying to give back. It felt very aligned with our values as a company, and it was an opportunity for us to, across our influencer network, whitelist that content, boost it, put paid support behind it to actually get more eyeballs on it. So often we have amazing content that consumers are resonating with, they're responding to it, they're engaging with it, and we just want more people to have the opportunity to see it. And so this was our chance to use what works, put it on a bigger stage so that more people can engage with it. The second approach was all about evolving and improving what works. And so we talked about how sticks in hand and trial has always been a cornerstone for Liquid I.V. This was an opportunity for us to take that to the next level. So we started with the consumer insight and the market insight that there are certain states in the US that get extremely hot during the summer months. That whole southern part of the map there on the left. That is a huge heat-related dehydration occasion. And we felt there was an opportunity for us to meet consumers where they are with a product that can do something to meaningfully help them in that moment. And so for the first time, we took a sampling program that had existed in a stationary space, maybe through partnerships, and we took it on the road with an activation called our Pickup Sticks Tour that brought different Liquid I.V. themed games, really fun prizes. We took that on the road. We gave samples to consumers. We gave them an opportunity to see how the product works in a moment where it's most important to them. So not only that, but we said, how can we better connect the different tools that are working together in our media mix? So we knew we wanted to go into out of home, but we saw an opportunity to sync these things up together and have them work harder. So in the cities where we chose to have our sampling tour, we also supplemented that with an out-of-home media buy. So a consumer can go see the ad out of home, get that exposure to Liquid IV, perhaps engage in our out-of-home activation, receive a sample, and then drive to the retail outlet that has the distribution locally in order to close that full funnel approach. So in the end, that synergy across our trial program, our out-of-home program, making sure that 1 + 1 ends up at 3. The last piece here is about context. So it would have been really easy for us to say, let's just get as many billboards as possible. We just want reach, we just want eyeballs. But that element of context and serving an ad to a consumer in a moment where it's relevant and meaningful was very important to us. So where you were gonna find our out-of-home ads are next to the electric scooter station in Miami. You're gonna find us at the gym when you're working out and you're feeling dehydrated. You're gonna find us on the digital screen at the golf course where you might need to rehydrate after a couple of holes. So that marriage of the right creative in the right moment was something that we were very, very thoughtful of, and also how does it engage with the other portions of our total media mix. And the last piece here was about entering new channels with intentionality. So something that's super important to us as a brand is always experimenting, testing, learning with new platforms, following consumers where they're going, and really engaging with them in new and different ways. And so we saw this as an opportunity for us to experiment in Twitch for the first time in a really meaningful way. And Tenuity, our media partner, brought us an opportunity to participate in Outside Lands, which is a music festival that is held in San Francisco. And so I'm gonna play a little bit about it, and then we'll chat about that.
What's going on, everyone? You're watching the Outside Lands live stream 2022 exclusively on twitch.tv. My name's Owen Bones.
I'm Sir Michael Rocks.
We are Mystery School, and we got a little bit of news for you, actually.
I think we do. For tonight's Liquid IV Light Up the Night poll, we had you guys vote for the color that the trees would be turning on later tonight, and it looks like at 37%, you guys voted for watermelon. Watermelon is tonight's winner for the Light Up the Night poll. Let's take a look at it, man.
Also, scream inside your house if you voted for watermelon. You did this. Acai voters at 29%. Absolutely colossal L. I'm sorry.
Close call, but no dice there.
So up next, we got Phoebe Bridgers on the live stream. Check it out.
I really love this execution because the tree lighting at Outside Lands is something that's really integral to that festival. So if you're familiar with it, you're looking forward to it every year. And that was an opportunity for us as a brand to highlight flavor, which is something that's so important to our equity that we're really trying to cement with consumers, that flavor is a core area of expertise for Liquid IV. So this was a way for them to engage directly with the brand, personally vote, and for us, it was the perfect marriage of an out-of-home experiential moment in festivals, which is historically a place where Liquid IV has played. We had a great execution done by our brand team this year at Coachella, at Stagecoach. This was a way for us to continue our presence in the festival space with people live on the grounds, and then take that and amplify it on a digital platform where we could scale it and have more people join in on that experience. So being able to stream this on Twitch and also supplement it with that same OTT commercial that you all saw earlier in a very efficient programmatic buy was an opportunity for us to take something amazing and high impact in real life and marry that with the digital world, scale it, and amplify its impact. And so we're really happy about this execution with Twitch and looking forward to continuing to learn in this space. So I won't go over this too much, but I think the main idea is like when a new challenge is ahead of us, it calls for just a reassessment and a reevaluation of how we build, grow, and improve on what has already worked. So for us, it was an opportunity to reevaluate our consumer, learn about their media habits, have that inform our strategy, and then really take what was working really well for Liquid IV and build upon that to create an even more robust media model. For us, this is actually still in progress. So our summer brand campaign is still live right now. But in the first 8 weeks that we've been live with those two audiences that we talked about, Gen Z and millennials, we've actually seen a 15% increase in our national awareness levels with those two groups in such a short window of time. So for us, already very positive results, and we're very much looking forward to seeing the continued results and impact as we close it out for the rest of the summer.
Thank you so much, Stacey. Hang on and grab a seat.
Oh, all right.
Strap in.
Okay.
Because we have questions.
Okay.
I've got a few follow-up questions with Stacey because we had a great conversation talking about this idea of of intentional branding. And I thought it was really relevant to this group especially because a lot of you are moving out into broader brand building efforts, and how you bridge your old style of performance-driven marketing with this newer, broader branding approach, I think is a challenge for all of you. So I really wanted to pick Stacey's brain a little bit about how they're executing on this. First of all, you did a big research project to understand media usage habits and who your target was. What were the surprises there? What did you learn that you didn't know before?
It might sound surprising, but I think we often still talk about linear TV as a very efficient way to drive mass reach. And there was a couple different advisors that we talked to that were saying, yeah, you got to go linear. It's the best way to reach a broad audience. And really, when we dug into it for the specific consumers that we were trying to reach, that we had identified as being the biggest opportunity of growth for Liquid I.V., they just really weren't spending their time there. And so in order for us to really reach them to the same extent, the amount we would have had to spend would have been significantly higher than what was within our ability. And so we just said, how can we be more thoughtful about really just meeting our objective, investing where people are spending their time?
Were there specific other channels that really popped? I mean, just streaming generally, or were there particular areas and different channels that this research is really directing you towards?
It was honestly just a lot of streaming, but the broader insight was also about video as a very key format. And I think that's because it allows us an opportunity to tell a little bit more of a story. You can talk a little bit more about the product, the benefit, the brand. And so what we were seeing was that not only were they spending more time on video-focused platforms, but that type of asset was a very powerful tool in terms of driving their decision-making.
What did you learn about, because in your last slide you mentioned you popped the idea of content and what content really drives people to the brand. What did you find out about the content and the messaging that really works, but also context? Because a lot of what you're doing in this plan is finding people at the right moments, and that includes different kinds, not only outside the gym, obvious, but also different kinds of content where they're more receptive to your message. What did you find out about that?
Yeah, we actually did a very significant round of consumer research when we were developing our creative concept, just to try to understand, to your point, Steve, what are the things that are really going to change people's mind or open their mind to something that they might not have otherwise considered. And what we found, at least for Liquid I.V., was that people were shocked to hear some of these things about it's actually going to hydrate you 2 times faster than water alone. It has 3 times the electrolytes of a traditional sports drink, 5 essential vitamins. And those are things that we talk about internally all the time, so much so that I think we forget that a lot of that is still new news to consumers, and it's educational for them. And I think what we found was that the more we could educate people about the importance of hydration, the more we could talk very clearly and succinctly about the benefits of the product and kind of be consistent with that information across different touch points, that's what consumers were playing back to us as, oh, I didn't even know that. That's very different. Like, I think that's really interesting. And so that helped shape our creative strategy as well. And then I think in putting creative in the right context is just about when is it going to be most relevant? And I think that's something that we struggle with when we're trying to find very efficient media vehicles, is that sometimes those exposures are very invasive. They're interrupting your experience with the media that you're engaging with. And so if we can actually just find a way to serve in the right context, that actually looks helpful to consumers, because you're sharing something that's new knowledge for them in a moment where it's actually beneficial for them to have that information versus interrupting or disrupting their experience.
Listen, as one of the old farts in the room, I just want to point out, you just recited the marketing and media playbook from 1955, which is important, I think really important, is that product attributes is key to selling anything, but also better understanding the context and the receptivity of the audience, which in many ways, a lot of the technology, especially the programmatic technologies that have driven digital over the last 20 years, pulled us away from. And it's interesting that you're, in many ways, rediscovering a lot of these key concepts. Let's talk about out of home, because that's a really interesting thing for me. How did you find out, outside the gym, okay, how did you find, what sort of research did you do to find the right places and contexts for this?
I mean, a lot of what we thought about were those consumer usage occasions. Mm-hmm. So, we thought about that outdoor activity, heat related, like where are consumers going to most need it? And also,
you actually used a literal heat map.
Yes.
Didn't you? I mean, I think that's really, I love that part, is that you actually used a physical weather heat map to better understand where you would get a more receptive audience.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing we talked about, and now, we're in an omni-channel space and we're talking about expansion into retail, you also have to think about where is your distribution? Because that all is going to hit a lower part of the funnel, right? And so that's something that we talked about as well, which is where do we have the most distribution nationally? How can we line up the consumer need with also a place where there's physical availability of the product for someone to then go and close the sale? So there was a lot of that intentionality as well, of triangulating these different pieces and making sure that we were creating a plan that was going to lead to that full funnel experience.
Since we're talking about the funnel, why don't you talk a little bit more about how you are connecting the upper and the lower funnel? How you're using measurement and attribution to really either lead people from this top to the bottom, but also yourself understanding how the top is impacting the bottom.
Yeah, I think there's a variety of different ways that we're kind of assessing progress in these different areas of the funnel. For us, one of the big objectives of this campaign was elevating that national awareness number for the brand. So that's something that we've been tracking very significantly over the last year, and knowing that adding that layer of upper funnel was going to meaningfully change that. And so that's something that we've kind of kept an eye on week over week to see how that's progressing. At the middle funnel, we're very interested in like, how is this affecting consumer engagement with the brand? And so we have also seen a significant uptick in our followers on our social media platforms, an indication that those different touch points that we're reaching consumers at are translating to that lower funnel growth. And then, of course, we're always kind of consistently looking at our D2C platform and understanding how does this affect traffic to the site? Because at the end of the day, we want people to have awareness of it. We want that to translate to them, engaging more with the brand.
Are you to the point of granularity yet in your branding effort where you can actually see there are certain things we do up here in certain places at certain times, in certain contexts, and they have an immediate or a predictable effect down here?
There are certain moments where we have seen that, where we've seen us turn on an effort in the top of funnel and seen that translate to immediate traffic on the website. And so, yes, I think that's a skill that we're still honing. We're still working through how do we, follow that consumer journey from the top to the bottom? How do we better understand the impact that these things are having on one another? But that's a space that we're actively learning in all the time.
I have a few more quick questions for Stacey, but I want to remind you we want to go to Q&A. So think about some questions. Sarah will bring a microphone to you, and we'll get some of your questions in here. I want to make sure we've got time. Yes. What are some of the things that you have learned not to do? What are the key course corrections so far?
That's a great question. I think, I always view this as an opportunity for learning. When we go into it, there's always something that we could be doing better. And we're actually in the process right now where we're building for next year. So we're already kind of still closing out year one and starting to think about how do we evolve for next year. And one of the main things I've learned is that, particularly for our brand, powdered hydration is still such a small portion of the broader picture of functional hydration. And I'm sure even for some of you, as I held up the stick earlier, that was unfamiliar. Like, how does this work? How do I use it? And so I think a lot of what we've learned too is that it's not just about education of the brand. A lot of it is category level education, and that's something that we're really taking a focus to as we go into next year. And I'm sure it may be relevant for many of you here that have introduced, new formats, new ways of, reshaping the category. Thinking about the role that we play as the category leader within powdered hydration is something that we're going to evolve and improve on as we go into next year.
So you say you're the category leader. How do you think about or define your competition? And does any of your messaging respond or anticipate competition?
So
Meaning you're gunning for Gatorade or what?
We have historically looked at powdered hydration. I think there is so much opportunity for us to look at the broader space of functional beverage and see how we introduce a product that is really amazing in flavor and also backed by science and extremely functional in nature to provide a benefit for consumers who are looking for functional beverages. So that's something that we're trying to evolve into and kind of look to that broader opportunity in the future. I really can only speak to Liquid I.V. and the trajectory that we have, which is just reaching more people with an amazing product and an amazing brand.
Okay, but one day we'll see the Liquid I.V. Ice water canister being dumped on some coach's head, right? Is that it?
Yes.
Eventually we'll get there. I want to open it up for questions. If any of you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get the microphone to you. And please, throughout the show, please stand so everybody can see you and get to know you. Tell us who you are and who you're with.
Thanks. Hi, Stacey. That was great. Thank you. Scott Carrington. I'm with Patagonia. My question is regarding one of your tried and true tactics, the influencer program. And I'm really curious, 20,000 influencers, that's a massive number. And I'm curious how you manage and sort of get communications to that 20,000 people. Is there technology that you use? And then I'm also curious, what percentage of those influencers supported the campaign with content and publishing?
It's a great question, and you're absolutely right. It is a very vast network, and because of that, we have a dedicated in-house team to support that entire influencer network. So we have individuals who are focused on macro influencer, micro influencer, including our affiliate influencer program. We also have a brand ambassador program, and so we are resourced and staffed to make sure that we're supporting that from an in-house perspective. That's something that was really important to us because the whole purpose of the influencer network was fostering that community and loyalty. And we really felt like that one-on-one relationship with our influencer network is really important. So while we do use some technology in the background to help manage things logistically, there is a lot of individual outreach that's happening from our staff in-house.
I think I saw one over here. For Sarah, do you have one? I'm totally blinded, so I can't see where we're at.
Hey, Stacey. Paul from BK Beauty. Love the presentation. Love the campaign. Create a beautiful, thoughtful. Piggybacking off of kind of the team structure, when you were, in terms of execution of the campaign and planning, what was the breakout in terms of what you guys took on in-house in terms of the totality of the integrated touch points and what you guys were building for the summer? And what did you rely on outside partners for this last summer campaign? And as you look to next year, has that changed in any way? And were there any learnings from last year's planning?
Yeah, great question. We are very fortunate at Liquid I.V. to have an amazing in-house team. So we do have a lot of graphic designers, videographers, editors in-house that do an amazing job with asset development. In terms of this last campaign, the idea territory of play was one that came from Taste Taylor in-house at Liquid I.V. It was a really amazing idea, taking consumer insights that had also been mined and crafted in-house by our consumer insights team to get to a campaign territory. We then worked with 626 Production House in order to translate that into an idea that could extend into different spaces, different media channels. I would say it was very much a hybrid approach. And with an in-house creative team, I think that's a model that has worked really well for us, which is bringing in some very trusted external partners that have great expertise maybe in video production or storyboard development, and marrying that with the amazing talent that exists in-house to get to an amazing output. So I would say it was very much hybrid. As we go into next year, I think that's a model that we have found is successful, that we're looking to very much continue, which is where can we, really deliver some amazing work from our in-house team, and where can we supplement that from some trusted partners that have expertise that would help build and make that even better.
I'm going to wrap with one lightning round question. Knowing what you know now, how do you expect your media allocation to change next year? You're now doing top to bottom funnel. You're starting to look at different ways of attribution and of attribution models. Where do you think you're going to heavy up next year that you aren't now?
Oh, that's a great question. And it might be a little early for me to answer it. So we are still continuing to monitor our KPIs. We actually are partnering with Mindshare on an MMM as well to better understand the impact of each individual channel and what has worked most successfully for us. I don't think we're too far off the mark of what we would aim to build on next year, but I think we're going to learn more as we go into November and December and get more of those KPIs to shift things around, and potentially look into the same way that we did with Twitch, new platforms, new spaces. How can we test to scale in those areas and really continue to always be on the leading edge of new and different media platforms?
Okay, that was a trick. I was just planting the seeds of forcing you to come back next time to report on it.
I'm happy to. And
like I said, I've been doing this a long time. Stacey Andrade-Wells, thank you so much.